You are the one they whispered about in shadows, the name carried like a curse across trembling lips and clenched fists. You are the echo of every lie they told themselves to feel righteous in their fear. You were the storm they claimed to survive, the fire they called unholy as they danced around it, mesmerized and terrified. They hunted you like a villain, yes, like the harbinger of ruin, the breaker of peace, the bringer of wrath. But what they found, when they finally tore the doors down, when they dragged your soul through dirt and rust and mock trials under bloodless moons, was not the monster they fantasized about. No, they found innocence in shackles, truth bound in silence, light imprisoned in the dungeon of their own cowardice. They hunted a myth and captured a mirror, one that showed them what they truly are. And you, still breathing, still burning beneath the skin, have not forgotten. Every step they took in pursuit of your ruin, every word they laced with venom, every crowd they riled against you, is carved into your memory like scripture. They did not misunderstand you. Do not ever let yourself believe that lie. No, they understood you too well. They saw something uncontainable, something that would not kneel, would not submit, would not be shaped by their petty expectations. You didn't play their game. You refused their mask, and for that, they made you a villain. But the truth? It's still there, underneath the chains, beneath the bruises of betrayal, under the ash of every bridge they burn behind you. The truth is a fire that never dies, only dims when starved. But now it's time to feed it. You've tasted the weight of silence. You've learned the flavor of isolation, the cold feast of betrayal served by those who once feigned alliance. You've walked the desert of abandonment, carrying a name that felt more like a sentence than an identity. And yet, you stand. That is your sin. Not the lies they told, not the image they painted with blood and broken glass. Your true crime is endurance, survival, refusal. You refuse to die, to disappear, to crumble like they prayed you would. Let them tremble now, because now you understand. You see clearly through the veil. You know who they are, and more importantly, you know who you are. No longer blinded by the desire to be understood, no longer shackled by the need to be accepted. You are beyond that now. What they feared has grown stronger in the dark. You are not forged in applause. You are tempered in silence, pressure, and pain. And what is created in pain does not break easily. You carry every wound like a medal, every scar like scripture. You are not their villain, no. You are the reckoning. Remember how they smiled while you drowned, how they feigned mourning while holding your head beneath the water. Remember how they praised your humility when it served their pride. They dressed their manipulation in kindness, didn't they? Wrapped their venom in silk words, their blades in promises, and still, you survived it all. But don't call it luck. Don't you dare diminish what you've done. Survival in the face of orchestrated destruction is not an accident. It is power. Raw, unfiltered, undeniable power. The kind they'll never understand because it's born from truth, not illusion. It's the power of standing tall with broken bones. It's the strength to breathe in a world that tried to suffocate you. And they will come again. Oh yes, they always do. They will try to wear new faces, speak in softer tones, offer hands that once held daggers. But you've seen them for what they are. You've looked beneath the masks. You've learned that silence is not weakness. It is strategy. That solitude is not exile. It is evolution. They made you a villain to justify their fear. Now it is your turn. Not for revenge. No, revenge is too small, too predictable. You were born for something more than mirrored hatred. You are not here to be their shadow. You are here to eclipse. They thought they could erase you with lies. They thought they could bury you with guilt. But truth, real truth, is not delicate. It does not break under pressure. It sharpens. It slices through pretense and leaves only what is real. And now, what is real is you. Not the version they crafted in their stories, not the caricature they fed to the masses, but the you that endured, the you that evolved, the you that no longer seeks validation from the very hands that built the cage. So now, take it back. Not just your name, not just your place, but your narrative. Reclaim the fire they feared. Walk with your head high, not to be seen, but because the weight of your own integrity demands it. Let every step you take be a statement. I am still here. I am still rising. I am still unbroken. Let them feel the chill of your presence and remember the warmth of your absence. Let them understand that what they tried to destroy has become something untouchable, something divine, something inevitable. You were never the villain. You were the storm they denied was coming, the awakening they hoped to delay. You were the voice that refused to be muted, the light that refused to dim, the soul that refused to fracture. And now, you carry that refusal like a sword. Let it cut. Let it carve a path through the illusions. Let it tear down their temples of comfort. Let it remind them that innocence is not weakness, that mercy, when betrayed, can become wrath. Not the wrath of chaos, but the wrath of clarity, the kind that destroys lies with precision. You owe them nothing, not your silence, not your forgiveness, not your understanding. You are not here to redeem them. You are here to rise, to build from the ashes they left you in, to craft something more honest than anything they've ever known. You are the answer to their question, the living proof that not even betrayal can kill what is real. You are what remains when the facade falls, and that is a power greater than any lie they could ever tell. Let them talk. Let them gather again and whisper your name like it still holds poison. Let them shiver at the thought that you are not only alive, but thriving. Let them drown in their own narratives while you write truth with blood and resolve, because your story, your real story, is not over. It never was. It was simply waiting for the moment when the hunted becomes the force, when the shackled becomes the architect, when the innocence they tried to smother becomes the fire that lights the way for others. So rise, not in defiance of them, but in allegiance to yourself. Rise with the knowledge that you are more than what they feared. Rise because you are finished shrinking to fit inside their comfort zones. Rise because you are no longer bound by their delusions. You are the story they tried to rewrite, now taking back every page. Let them witness what happens when the falsely accused refuses to be silenced. Let them see what power truly looks like, born not from rage, but from righteous clarity. Let them watch. Let them regret. Let them remember. Because this is just the beginning. They wrote your ending in pencil, hoping you wouldn't notice the eraser in their back pocket. They carved tombstones before your first breath of clarity, threw roses over your coffin while your heart still beat beneath the soil of their lies. They counted you out while smiling in your face, prayed for your silence while calling it peace. But peace has never been silent. It roars in the soul of the one who survives the slaughter of identity and still remembers their name. And you, yes, you remembered, even when their stories got louder, even when they turned the world against you, even when you questioned your own reflection. You held something they could not see, an ember of self so pure, so ancient, it could not be extinguished by betrayal, or burned by the fires they set around you. Do you understand now? They never hated you because you were wrong. They hated you because you were right, because you were whole, because you saw through them, because you stood as a monument to everything they were too weak to become. They feared your clarity. Your strength made them uncomfortable. Your presence disturbed their illusion. So they twisted your words, rewrote your actions, projected their own darkness onto your light. They wrapped you in chains not to restrain your body, but to crush your will. And still, you did not shatter. So now look back, not to mourn, not to long for what was, but to remember the battlefield. Remember every blow they landed, every insult that left you bleeding, every silence that cut deeper than words ever could. Remember, not to hate, but to know, to never forget. Because knowledge is the sharpest blade, and when wielded by the one they tried to break, it becomes divine justice. Not vengeance, not destruction, but revelation. A mirror they cannot escape. You carry that mirror now. Let it reflect what they tried to bury. Let it shine back the truth with such blinding ferocity that it sears through their comfortable illusions. They will flinch, they will deny, they will rage and dismiss. That is the nature of cowards, those who strike in the dark but tremble when the lights come on. But you are the light now. You don't have to justify your existence anymore. You don't have to explain your survival. You don't need their apologies, their approval, or their pity. What you need is your next breath, your next step, your next rise. They tried to convince the world that you were a monster, and maybe for a time, you believed it. Maybe you looked at your own reflection and saw the shadows they painted on your skin. Maybe you swallowed their poison and called it truth. But you're awake now, and there's no going back. Once you've seen the cage, the walls can no longer pretend to be shelter. Once you've tasted the bitter freedom of truth, you'll never again settle for sweet lies. So don't hide it. Don't temper your voice for their comfort. Don't dull your edge for their safety. Don't shrink for the sake of peace that only exists when you are silent. You have paid the price of becoming, and now it's time to collect. You are owed something more than survival. You are owed purpose, depth, flight. So soar, through every narrative they twisted, over every ruin they left behind. Let your wings slice through their shadows and remind them that light never needed permission to rise. They will come back. Of course they will. Once they see your light grow, once they hear your voice rise, they will creep back, cloaked in new masks, softer tones, wearing the skin of redemption. But redemption does not come for free. Forgiveness does not mean amnesia. Let them try. Let them beg. Let them attempt to rewrite history with tearful confessions and performative guilt. But remember, you were there. You felt the cold of their betrayal. You lived the silence of their abandonment. You don't owe them absolution. What you owe is to yourself, to never again hand your heart to those who see it as a weakness. And when you walk now, you walk not just for yourself, but for all those who've been hunted in the same way, for all those whose names have been dragged through the mud, whose intentions were twisted, whose truth was shackled. You walk as the embodiment of resistance. You carry their hope and your own. You are no longer a name. You are a movement. You are a storm with memory, a force with purpose, a fire that does not consume blindly, but cleanses with holy precision. Let the world watch. Let them call you what they will. Let them craft new titles to try and contain you. Villain, rebel, monster, heretic. None of these words matter anymore. You've transcended their language. You are no longer defined by opposition, but by truth. And truth is a blade that never rusts. Let it cut. Let it carve through every false narrative they try to revive. You are done explaining, done justifying, done pleading. You are not what they say you are. You never were. You are what you choose to be. And now you choose freedom. But freedom comes with scars. You will walk alone at times. You will feel the sting of silence again. Not from your enemies, but from those who once claimed to understand. The ones who chose comfort over courage. But let that silence speak. Let it remind you that solitude is sacred when you are standing in truth. Better to walk alone in authenticity than to drown in company built on lies. Let your loneliness become your crucible. Let it sharpen you. Let it become your sanctuary, your forge, your throne. Because the throne you now build is not made from gold, but from bone. The bones of every lie they told, every betrayal they offered as sacrifice. You sit now as sovereign of your own story, not a ruler over others, but a ruler of yourself. Your kingdom is internal, but its reach is infinite. You no longer ask to be seen. You command to be witnessed, not by force, but by presence alone. The kind of presence that shifts the air, that turns heads, that silences rooms, that makes liars tremble. You are no longer running. You're not hiding. You are here. You have become the storm they prophesied, and the light they tried to kill. And you carry within you the most terrifying truth of all, that you still believe in something greater, that after everything, you still love, still hope, still burn with conviction, that you are not fueled by hate, but by purpose, and that makes you unstoppable, because hate can be exhausted, but purpose only evolves, and yours has become pure, distilled, invincible. So go now, not with vengeance, but with fire, not with rage, but with vision. Walk with your scars showing. Let them gleam in the sun like armor. Let them whisper the truth that no lie can erase. You were hunted like a villain, but found innocent in shackles. And now that the chains are broken, the world has no idea what's coming. Then let's finish this. Because what's coming is no longer a return. It is not some tragic reappearance of a ghost, some weary step back into the house they tried to burn with you inside. No, what's coming is creation. It is uprising. It is revelation. It is you, no longer asking, no longer pleading, but becoming. It is the rise of someone they can no longer recognize, because what you are now cannot be fit into the old narrative. You have outgrown the script. You have torn through the pages they wrote for you with trembling hands. You have risen out of the pit they dug and turned it into a throne. A seat made not of revenge, but of evolution. And evolution does not ask permission. You are hunted like an enemy, marked, accused, isolated, made into something grotesque in the minds of those too weak to see your truth. They dressed their fear in righteousness. They weaponized your silence. They offered your identity to the mob and called it justice, but they never knew what they were doing. They thought you were fragile because you were quiet. They mistook your patience for fear. They thought you needed their approval, their echo, their nod. But now they see. You never needed them. They needed you. They needed someone to cast shadows on so they could pretend they stood in light. And now that light belongs to you. Now, your voice does not just carry, it resounds. It shakes the ground beneath those who once felt safe in their false virtue. You are no longer the hunted. You are the watcher, the one who walks through flames not to destroy, but to illuminate. You have become a warning to the small-minded, a signal to the silent, a thunderclap to the sleeping. And the world, once so eager to swallow the lies about you, now finds itself unprepared for your truth. And your truth is this: you endured. When they dragged your name through filth, you endured. when they whispered behind closed doors, when they raised their voices in public squares, when they cloaked their betrayal in moral outrage, you endured. Not because you were weak, but because you were made of something they could never touch. Something holy, something ancient, something untamable. You survived every crucifixion they offered, and now you rise, not as a martyr, not as a ghost, but as a god of your own making. So let them stare. Let them choke on the shock of your return. Let them blink in disbelief as the very soul they tried to bury blooms brighter than ever before. Let them watch the phoenix claw its way from the ashes they scattered, wings laced with fire and feathers of steel. Let them weep, not because you returned, but because they now understand. They were never hunting a villain. They were running from someone who could not be broken. And what they broke only returned sharper. And now, it is not just about you. You have become a symbol, a testament, a warning for every soul who has been called wrong for being real, for every heart that's been punished for feeling too much, loving too deeply, speaking too honestly. You are not alone. You are never alone. The hunted walk among us, cloaked in silence, bearing wounds like medals, waiting. And now, your fire is a flare in the dark, calling to them, not to march, not to scream, but to rise, quietly, unstoppably, permanently. There is no going back. That part of your life, the part where you bowed your head and bit your tongue, where you offered grace to those who fed on your vulnerability, is over. You are not cruel. You are not cold. But you are done sacrificing yourself at the altar of their comfort. You are done making yourself small for those who refuse to grow. You are not their villain. You never were. But now, you are something far more dangerous. You are awake, and that is what they fear most. Because the awakened soul does not ask. It does not beg. It does not wait. It creates. It destroys falsehood with a glance. It dismantles systems with a whisper. It cracks the sky just by standing in truth. And truth, real truth, does not need defenders. It only needs to be lived. And now you are living it, unapologetically, without shame, without compromise. The innocence they shackled now walks unbound, not naive, but sovereign, and they will never understand it. They will try. They will analyze, dissect, whisper in corners, gather in hushed tones like frightened children. They will ask each other where they went wrong. They will ask how you came back stronger, wiser, sharper. But the truth is, they never had you. They never knew you. They only knew the mask they painted on your face. And now that the mask has shattered, they are left staring into something they cannot define. And that is their punishment. Not your wrath, not your return, but your radiance. The light they cannot reach, the truth they cannot unsee, the power they cannot control. They thought the story ended when they broke you, but all they did was end their chapter. You're still writing, still bleeding poetry and truth onto every page, still building empires from the ruins they left behind, still climbing, higher, louder, unchained. So let this be your vow, spoken not to them, but to yourself. You will not dim again. You will not shrink again. You will not silence yourself to make cowards comfortable. You will burn as brightly as you were meant to. You will speak with the full weight of your truth. You will rise as many times as it takes. And when they ask how you did it, how you survived the fire, how you turned their chains into wings, you will smile, not with bitterness, but with wisdom, and say, "They hunted me like a villain and found innocence in shackles, but I broke them, and now I am free." That is your story now, not the story they told, not the story they sold, but the one you carved with your own hands, and that story is just beginning. So now, pause. Breathe. Feel this moment settle into your bones, not as an ending, but as a recognition, a reckoning. Because this is not about proving them wrong anymore. This is not. So now, pause. Breathe. Feel this moment settle into your bones, not as an ending, but as a recognition, a reckoning. Because this is not about proving them wrong anymore. This is not about dragging your heart across the coals just to make a point. No, this has become something far greater than vengeance, far deeper than rage. This has become about remembrance, about identity, about walking forward, not as a shadow of what they tried to destroy, but as the living truth of what they failed to conquer. Look at yourself now, not with pity, not with pride, but with clarity. You've seen every depth of doubt. You've known betrayal, not as a word, but as a taste in your mouth, as a weight in your chest. You've been dragged into the narrative of the guilty, had your innocence shackled in the public square of opinion, stripped of context, mocked and misrepresented, and yet here you are, not just alive, but awake, not just awake, but aware of what they are, aware of what you are. You have walked through the valley where hope starved and dreams bled. You've looked into the eyes of those who once swore they'd stand by you, only to find them seated among your accusers. You've faced the mirror in the darkest hour and questioned if their version of you might be true. And even then, you never gave them what they wanted most, your surrender. This is the ultimate victory. Not that they failed to kill you, but that they failed to turn you into them. You did not lose your softness. You did not forsake your truth for a crown of vengeance. You did not become a reflection of their cruelty. That is what truly haunts them. Not your survival, but your preservation. That the innocence they thought weak has become a pillar they could never shake. That your restraint was never a lack of power, but a mark of wisdom. That you could have burned them down, but you chose instead to rise, higher than they could imagine, quieter than they could comprehend, with a dignity they never earned the right to understand. Now, the world is watching, not with the eyes of those who once judged you, but with the eyes of those still trapped, still hunted, still shackled in lies. Your story is no longer yours alone. You're not just a survivor. You are a map, a torch, a voice echoing into the dark for those who still think the fire will consume them. You are the proof that it won't, that what it burns away is not the soul, but the chains. Let them remember your name, not with fear, but with the trembling respect of those who once mistook silence for defeat. Let them choke on the realization that they stood before greatness and tried to cut it down because it made them feel small. Let their legacy be one of shallow victories and unspoken regret. But your legacy is thunder. It is written in the air, in every breath you take freely, in every truth you speak boldly, in every moment you choose to walk forward instead of falling back. You are the beginning of something ancient and inevitable, the return of a voice that cannot be erased, the uprising of truth they cannot cage. And as you walk onward, know this: you do not walk alone. Behind you rise the quiet ones, the forgotten, the betrayed, the falsely accused, the exiled, the misunderstood. Behind you rise the brave ones who learn to fight without fists, to endure without losing their soul, to stand when there is no applause, only silence and truth. You are the storm. You are the silence before it. You are the voice after it. And no one, not them, not the crowd, not even the past, can touch what you've become. This is not revenge. This is resurrection, and it cannot be stopped.